A girl group allegedly dispatched by Diddy himself total showed up outside my building. Within hours of me calling them broke. That wasn't coincidence. That was a calculated move. Wendy said her career felt like a battlefield. Every time. She spoke out about Diddy, whether it was his parties or how he handled his artist. Something in her world crumbled: a deal, a network slot, a sponsor. But she never wavered. You can blackball me. You can threaten me. But you can't delete me, she said. And now I'm under oath. So I hope they're listening. Because I won't stop until the truth is too loud for their machine to drown out. When asked about Diddy's culture, Wendy shifted towards someone else she'd long warned the public. About Jay-Z. Her tone grew sharper. You can't talk about Diddy and ignore the people who stood beside him while the abuse happened. That includes Jay-Z. Wendy looked at the jury, leaned in. Y'all remember Foxy Brown? She was 15. Jay-Z was 27 and always by her side. She cited lyrics from Foxy's debut album tracks Jay-Z reportedly penned. Ain't no nump like the one I got. No one can be better. She read slowly. The courtroom gasped. Now, you tell me, she said. Why was a grown man writing lyrics like that for a child? She laid out insider info. Jay picking Foxy up from high school, buying her gifts, paying for her glam. This wasn't a mentorship, it was grooming. Then Wendy dropped something darker. An alleged tape. Rumors swirled for years about a tape involving Jay-Z, Foxy, and Jamie Foxx. Then Foxy's house got burglarized. Tape vanished. Coincidence? I don't think so. After publicly questioning Jay-Z's ties to underage girls, Wendy said she was fired from her top-rated show. They called me toxic. But now, you're seeing that everything I questioned deserved answers. The prosecution asked for proof. She nodded: emails, call logs, producers who ghosted when she mentioned Jay's name. His team made quiet calls, she said, blacklisting anyone who spoke about Foxy. She turned back to the jury. You think I lost sponsors for being messy? No. I lost sponsors because I was right and they couldn't afford that. Then came the part when he said no one wanted to face the reason she was called a liar, a loudmouth, and worse. I was the first to say it. Those weren't parties, they were operations. She meant the infamous freak-offs, now central to the federal case against Diddy. She heard whispers back in the late 90s. Phones were confiscated, NDA letters signed, escorts by candlelight, hidden cameras, guest-assigned rooms. It wasn't a party, it was a ritual. She cited Karen Superhead Steffens, who told Wendy on air that Diddy invited her to one of those events and asked for male participation. Superhead didn't lie when he said. She described Diddy's paranoia, his drug use, the bizarre setups. He feared she'd expose him, and I made sure people heard that interview again and again. She recounted similar stories, guests leaving shaken. They weren't just partying, and they were told what to do, what to wear, who to touch. 3 individuals told Wendy about for bags being used after the parties, just like the indictment outlines. Medical staff were on standby. This wasn't social, it was depravity. She presented a list of pseudonyms, each tied to private testimonies. The court went silent. Their stories aligned with those told by Cassie Ventura, Gene Deal, and others. Then Wendy delivered something that hit everyone. The baby oil. I said it as a joke, but it wasn't funny. Over 1,000 bottles, just like I said. Want to know how I knew? People told me, and I was the only one willing to say it. Calm, composed, she looked over at Diddy. All these years later, and we're finally here. This isn't gossip, it's evidence. As the room grew still, Wendy turned to someone else, Cassie Ventura, whom she defended for years. I said it back then, she told the jury. Y'all saw diamonds and red carpets. I saw a scared girl. She recalled warning listeners as early as 2008 about Diddy's grip on Cassie. She was 19. He was nearing 40. That's not love, it's leverage. When he broke down how jets, bodyguards, and industry power made escape nearly impossible. She didn't need a boyfriend, she needed a bodyguard. She cited a clip she aired years ago where Cassie flinched when Diddy raised his voice. They said nerves, I said trauma. But no one listened. The prosecution brought in a timeline of Wendy's shows that lined up with Cassie's allegations. I was told Diddy had her phones, that he showed up unannounced, that staff opened hotel doors for him. When he paused. When I said that, my sponsors pulled out. She mentioned the 2018 incident when Cassie reportedly ended things after Diddy forced his way into her home. That wasn't the first time, Wendy said. People don't get it when a mogul wants control. He doesn't ask. He rearranges the world around him. She outlined a system: grooming, isolation, power, leverage disguised as luxury. He didn't love her, he owned her. And when she broke free, she became a threat. Wendy ended this portion with a haunting line. Everything in that lawsuit, I saw the signs. I said it, and now she's being heard. But look at the cost. She adjusted her mic, her voice steady, but slower. Talking about men like Diddy doesn't come without punishment. I knew that, but I didn't know how far it would go. In 2004, at the height of her career, she got a message: stop talking about Puff, or else. She didn't. The following week, she lost her time slot. They didn't even try to hide it. She said Diddy made strategic calls to labels, promoters, and stations. One program director told her, "You went too far. You poked the wrong bear." She remembered nearly being attacked outside her studio by Total after calling them broke. That wasn't random. That was a warning. Fans pressed against the glass. Her intern panicked. Her boyfriend waiting in the car. That wasn't a beef, that was a message. She lost bed access. Media pauses at deals. All coordinated. Diddy didn't just want me quiet. He wanted me gone. She pulled out emails from PR firms backing away from her show. One read, per client instruction: "We will no longer be booking talent on Wendy Williams' show." She held it up. That client, Sean Combs. She looked at the jury. I wasn't the first blackballed, but I was one of the few who stayed. Loud. She reminded them, "Speak out, and you lose everything: your mic, your money, your name." But I didn't fold. I talked through the silence. And now I'm here. Wendy paused before telling a surreal memory. "We come from a very homosexual era of hip-hop." She quoted herself. That wasn't shade, it was truth. And I was crucified for it. She said the early 2000s saw a quiet campaign to shame those who asked questions. Charlemagne was on air with me, we knew what not to say. But I said it anyway. She referenced her 2004 book, The Wendy Williams Experience, filled with veiled warnings about Diddy and Jay-Z. They called it gossip. Now the government calls it evidence. She mentioned a 2009 interview with bad boy Alan Mark Curry, who wrote Dancing with the Devil. He called Diddy the shadow that ruins people. I agreed. Then poof, the interview vanished. She said every time she hosted industry critic Superhead, Gene Deal, Jaguar writes, she got threats, FCC complaints. They came at me from every angle. Then she dropped something chilling. There's a list. Not written, but real. A list of names you don't touch. I touched the man I paid. She said her hot topics were flagged. Her producers warned, execs telling her off the record to back off. They said I'd ruin everything for the station, for myself. She paused. But now it's ruined anyway because the truth is out. Her voice dropped. This trial isn't the beginning, it's the end of a cover-up. I've been shouting this for 20 years. Y'all just finally heard it. Her tone sharpened. This isn't just about Diddy. Locking eyes with the jury, she said. This is about the system that protected him, names you weren't supposed to hear in court: Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey. Silence fell. She was asked to elaborate. There's a list in Hollywood. Not one you'll ever hold, but it exists. Cross those people, you disappear. She recalled what happened after her infamous radio segments after she named Diddy and claimed Perry blackballed her. I had sources, agents, producers telling me, "Wendy, they're circulating your name, calling you unstable." After her fallout with the precious team, Oprah and Perry both involved, she was shut out. I went from invites to being erased. One exec told her, "Oprah's people don't want you near her anymore." Wendy once confided in Oprah about her own abuse trauma. Oprah said she'd never exploit it. Then my abuser showed up on her show. While I got blackballed, that wasn't just betrayal. That was retaliation. The jury was stunned. They smiled with him, took photos, while we were being crushed. She said they needed him for deals, for silence. Then she revealed a missent email from a PR firm working for both Perry and a bad boy brand. Subject line: managing optics. Wendy, Puff, Tyler. That was all it said. But it said enough. These aren't stars, they're a machine. And it feeds on silence. Destroys anyone who pulls the curtain back. Then came what prosecutors called a turning point. When he held up a thick folder. This, she said, is a collection of NDA letters, email threads, internal memos never meant to be seen. She got them from friends who left the business. They were tired of truth being called gossip. She read from a 2007 NDA, names redacted. Subject agrees not to disclose private gatherings, recordings, or interactions with Sean Combs. Violations will lead to financial penalties and public retaliation. She slammed the page. Public retaliation, that's how deep this went. Then an internal hotel chain email. Presidential suite prepped with linens, candlelight, and discretion protocols. Mr. Combs' assistant to set up. Date 2015. Cassie was still with him. Think this was just partying? No. This was planned, funded. Cleanup. She said she had evidence of payments to bloggers, managers, publicists, all to spin the narrative. One email told a journalist to ignore rumors and promote Diddy's charity work instead. She presented a photo. Diddy, Perry, and a crisis consultant at a 2019 gala. Smiling, she said. While women were silenced or destroyed, she said she was offered an NDA. ATV deal if she moved on. I said no, and I paid. The courtroom was silent. The silence they bought cost others their peace, their truth, their freedom. Now it's all unraveling one NDA at a time. At the end of her testimony, Wendy didn't break. She didn't cry. She just sat with the weight of it all. Y'all see Diddy on trial, she said calmly. But I see something bigger. This is about who let him do it. She gestured to the defense table. That man, he's the front. Behind him is a tower built on silence, NDA letters, billion-dollar handshakes. She turned to the jury. And every time someone tried to speak, that tower crushed them. She reminded the court, Jay-Z, Perry, Oprah, the handlers, the labels they'd all stayed quiet. Some watched the abuse firsthand. They shook his hand, took his checks, made sure anyone who asked questions got erased. She closed with the voice that made her famous, raw, commanding. They called me bitter, crazy, but I was right. And I'd rather be right in hell than silent in heaven. She looked at Diddy, stoic as ever. You thought I was gone. Thought your power was enough. But here you are finally caught by the truth. I hope it's loud. Then she turned to the gallery. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. People are naming names. The walls are cracking. And one day this whole tower is coming down. And with that, she walked out. She walked out.